Buddy, I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me once again is Dr. Jonathan Schanzer, Executive Director at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Dr. Schanzer, thanks so much for coming back on.
My pleasure.
I want to talk about where we are right now when it comes to the ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas, because it seems like we're in a really tenuous moment. A week ago, President Trump declared that the war was over and phase one of his peace plan, the 20-point peace plan, was underway. But since then, both sides have accused the other of violating the deal. Israel launched strikes into Gaza after it said Hamas fighters fired at Israeli military in Rafah, killing 2 soldiers. Both sides say right now that they are still committed to that peace deal. Talk to us about the moment we're in right now.
Well, I think a couple of things. First, this wasn't a peace deal. This was a ceasefire, and it was always a tenuous one. We knew what was expected from both sides in phase one, and it has not been delivered yet in its entirety. And then phase two was always going to be left up in the air. So let's get to phase one. The first thing that was the most important thing was getting those 20 hostages out alive. That happened. It happened against all odds. The Israelis are thrilled. That gives Donald Trump a huge amount of credit in Israel, and it's one of the reasons why the Israelis are as patient as they are right now as Hamas continues to violate the ceasefire deal. Where they're running out of a little bit of patience relates to the remaining slain hostages. There are, I believe, as of right now, 18 of them still being held by Hamas. 10 have been returned. But then there's the last part of this, which is Hamas was supposed to disarm. And the idea that they would disarm was always just doubtful. This is a terrorist organization that's been around since 1988. It does not want to just disassemble itself because Donald Trump asked them to. Their leadership is fighting for time. They're fighting for survival. And so that's kind of the big crossroads where I think we find ourselves. After that, we can talk about phase two. But the big idea of Hamas just simply folding up shop was never fully realistic in my view, and I think it leaves us at an interesting place.
Let's talk about that, because it seemed like that the hostages were the only leverage Hamas had. Hamas was badly battered by the IDF, but it wasn't completely eradicated. I mean, what's it going to take for Hamas to disarm? You don't think anything?
Well, I don't know what you could possibly offer the group. I mean, you could offer it safe passage to another country. So, for example, Iran could take them in, or Turkey, they're a sponsor of Hamas. The Qataris are sponsors of Hamas. Maybe Malaysia, Algeria. Those are, I think, the remaining countries that would be willing to take in Hamas. But it would be a big risk for each of those countries, number one. And number two, Hamas has to agree to this. Now, there is an historic analog that we've seen in the early 1980s. Ronald Reagan negotiated the exodus of the PLO from Lebanon after the war that transpired there. And it actually brought some calm in the region for about, 7 or 8 years. Until the PLO recognized the state of Israel and the peace process began between Israel and the Palestinians. That would be, I guess, one kind of scenario. The other, I think, is probably more likely, which is that Hamas sees itself as martyrs and they are going to try to fight Israel until the bitter end, knowing that for every day that they continue to fight Israel, that's going to be more pressure on the Israelis. They see that the pressure is coming from all over the world, really. The Arab world, the Europeans, the UN, they're all coming down on Israel like a ton of bricks for simply responding to Hamas aggression. So Hamas sees itself as essentially doing what it needs to do to try to draw Israel into a protracted conflict that ultimately redounds against Israel's benefit.